the city council debate with Caleb. Caleb's producing it next week.
Where is it?
2 weeks. June 7th. June 7th? June 7th.
Who's on the debate?
All the city council candidates.
5 of them?
And the mayors. And all the mayor candidates.
Where's that
Wherever we did the last time, I can't remember. Right over by our old place. It'll be online.
So what would you say? 73 to 81, but it's just a pretty good chance of rain this afternoon.
What's it?
40, 60,
80. Yeah, 80% chance of rain today. Wonderful. Ready?
Sure.
I got to do this. It's almost Benny Hillish.
Hey.
There's nothing worse than air accordion.
Bonita.
I could never get accordion hero to make it big. Mickelson Magic, ceasefire in Israel, UHV Jaguars sports, and a whole lot more coming up on today's Wade and Carter Show.
Just like riding a bike.
I hope. Hey, good morning.
Good morning to you,
How
sir.
are you?
Very, very
It's good to
good.
be back today.
Tanned, rested, and ready.
I wouldn't know about the rested part. The ready part's checked. Tanned and not really, but
Shaved, clean shaven.
yeah, I thank you for noticing.
Boyish charm.
I had to change up the luck after a third round at the TPC Deer Run, but let's do this first.
Folks, Wade and Carter Weather brought to you by our great friends at Deerland Feed. For everything you need, there's Deerland Feed. 73 degrees in Victoria, heading to a high today of 81 under what should be some rain-producing clouds early this afternoon. 60 to 80% chance around 2 o'clock. And I think we probably will get some rain. We've had plenty.
Yeah.
How are things at the 2-4? You got standing water?
Yeah, very wet. I think if my calculation's correct, 18 to 20 inches in the last 3 weeks out there.
Is that a lot?
Yeah.
I think that's a
It's
lot.
more
of
than
rain.
Harvey.
Yeah, that's a lot. Wow, think about that. That's a lot of rain.
Yeah, we had 6 inches just since I left, my rain gauge was at the very top, and it's a 6-inch rain gauge. And I'm sure it overflowed most of this week. Got water where water never stands. Mosquitoes are already bad. It's not a lot of fun up there.
Probably get something at Deerland to spray on.
That's what I'm going to have to figure out later today. Yes, sir. Justin Glass, good morning. Marvin Mickish is in. Chris Conrad, good morning. I know Chris is happy because his Jets up 3-0 on the most hated Edmonton Oilers.
There you go.
Diane Tippett, good morning. Bobby Leister checking in.
Why they hate Edmonton so bad?
No, I do because I'm from Calgary.
Because
Calgary
Gretzky
and
just owns y'all?
Yes, pretty much.
Good morning, Judge.
Judge Posey, Chris Cox, Tracy Price, Bobby Leister says the YouTubers have still holding steady on the Leisterometer at 1,004. Nobody's floated away. Daniel White, good morning. Rena Scherer, well, we're glad you missed us all, and we're glad to be back.
We're glad to be back.
It's nice to feel missed.
I miss it after a couple of days.
Yeah, I did too.
A day or two is one thing. A weekend is usually needed. But when you're gone Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday, I was done. I'm ready to be back.
Wednesday for you because
yeah, no, that's right, because of the weather.
the weather was bad.
Hello, Kerry Bell.
Iceman is in. Stuart Martin checking in. Jeff Finley, good morning. Greg Garcia. I think ran into Greg at Target right before I left town. Karen Webb, good morning. Rob Moore-Knipling, Lisa Poole, BJ Nelson is in.
Hello,
Jeremy
BJ.
Pena. Just a reminder, Bill Posey's show is off this week. He'll be back next week. So if you tuned in early.
Is he traveling?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Junior Samples, Kendra Douglas, Stephen Kidder, Scott Snow, Patrick Strauss. Good morning, everybody.
Hello, Stephen Kidder. What do you got? You watching that golf tournament yesterday?
I did. I watched the back nine, and I thought Lefty was going to give it away when he bogeyed, what was it, 17? He had a 2-shot lead, and then he pulls his tee shot left. I'm like, oops, here we go.
Is it not crazy the way he plays when he does? A lot of guys go out, and especially tournament winners, it's par, eagle, birdie, 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 birdie. You know, with Phil, it's bogey, double, eagle, birdie, 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 par.
But you know what?
Bogey.
Nobody was scoring low yesterday.
No, he shot 73 in the final round.
1 over, which
and still wins by 2.
Yeah, because Koepka went 2 over, and Oosthuizen didn't exactly play well. Nobody went low yesterday that was in contention. I think Ricky Fowler had a decent round.
Daily Golf points out tonight there is a town hall meeting with Texas Attorney General
Ken Paxton will be there. Yep. The Sheriff's
Inez
Regional Alliance at Inez Community Center.
Sheriff Louderback will be there.
I think it's going to be
Justin
jam-packed.
Maher, all those folks.
Yeah.
I may try to go as well. We maybe might have somebody come by later and tell us a little bit about it. We'd like to see that. What time does it start?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, Inez Community Center. You're going to get some in-your-face information about what's going on at the border, stuff that Kamala Harris refuses to accept or see.
Yeah. So,
but
what's the significance for Phil yesterday?
Well, we talked about it a little bit coming in. The big deal is, of the 4 majors, he's won the PGA at least twice. He's won 6. And I think he's
PGA, he hasn't won. It's 15 years between PGA victories. Let's get
so he's won 2 of those.
He's
won
50
2
years old.
Masters.
He's the oldest major champion ever.
Right. Which, by the way, I'm not even convinced.
Beats Jack at what, 46?
Yes, and it beats. I can remember as a small child seeing
Bobby
Sam
Jones?
Snead still play. Yeah, but Sam Snead still played on the tour in his 60s. You know, so the idea that it doesn't elevate. Phil's already a Hall of Fame golfer. He's worth $400 million for real. He
looked to be in pretty good shape.
He did
this time around.
What he really did though is this year, going into this year's U.S. Open, he had to use a one-time exemption to get in, and the logic being that in no other way, he was 13 years. He last won in 8 years. 2013 is the last time he won a major, and it was, I think, the U.S. Open.
Oh, was it? Okay.
He won in 2013, and he is he's now exempt for life for the PGA, which he was already. He's exempt for life from the Masters, and he has 5 years of straight exemption on the PGA Tour. Doesn't have to qualify, can play when and where he wants. That's the big deal. It's not like he's not good enough to be in the top 130. It's that he doesn't have to go out there and make a check and finish anywhere near anybody's money mark in order to stay on the tour. 5 years here, 7 years on the European Tour, and that victory gets him into all 4 majors. So the Open, the U.S., the PGA, and the Masters, and the Tour Championship, the Players Championship, for the next 5 seasons. That's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
$100 million exemption right there.
Wow.
He'll make an extra. Well, he'll still be advertising for KPMG. I guarantee you, KPMG is sending him a contract extension this week. Money.
You know what was interesting was to not see him in black. He was wearing navy yesterday, which was a new look for him on the final day as well.
Yeah, he looked really fit to be 50, and he looked pretty fit for Phil.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's just kind of
no C cups.
Right. He used to kind of have that Hal Sutton titty sweat. Remember that when he would get that sweat ring going? Boy, I had that working Saturday night at that wedding. Oh, I was sweating.
Trying to see when
Gary Schmidt said, surely
yeah.
there's something to discuss other than golf.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
and the U.S. Open is only 3
he
weeks
doesn't
away.
want to talk about that. But what were your thoughts on? I saw over the weekend where the Democrats are really up in arms because there's been a focus in this country on anything Asian. You need to not just be tolerant, and not just accepting, but you need to embrace our, what do they call it when you're not Indo? What do they call the not Eurasian? That's a dove. What is the It's Neo-Pacific, what do they call it? Pacific Rim Asians. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So this deal, Democrats are now beside themselves because Kamala Harris is too black. They want Kamala to.
What?
Yes, I'm telling you. Remember how Coca-Cola said, "Don't be too white." The Democrats are telling Kamala, "Don't be so black. Don't forget your Asian roots because it helps the party."
Didn't they run on her being black?
Yes.
I mean, that was the whole focus of her campaign for vice president.
It is the strongest educated transformation I've ever seen, where when she spoke prior to running for president, if you listen to the congresswoman, if you listen especially back in the LA days to the prosecutor, she stressed coming off as highly educated and very sophisticated and cosmopolitan. She was impressive, honestly. Now,
there you go. Chris Conner, as his comment, was actually of Indian descent.
She does the best that she can to come off as kind of inner city ghetto. What's up, yo? Hit me up on Twitter, all right? Yay. Yo. It's that. She's got a lot of that urban, trying to work that lingo kind of person.
Well, because I saw a stat, and here's why. I mean, the anti-Asian racism in this country is ramping up even more. It's very apparent in the Ivy Leagues. You've got, I think, 70% of all colleges in this country doing away with standardized tests for admissions, which typically, if you look at the ethnic groups that do well on those tests, which one's at the top? If you had to guess,
the Asians dominate scholastically.
The SATs and the ACTs, and in an effort to be more inclusionary.
So see,
we're lowering the bar again.
He's right, but here, like for example, right here, Huffington Post, March 28th. Is that a fair source?
I guess probably as fair as any for.
It says, though her late mother. Let me bring this up for you. It says the headline says raised to identify as black.
This is the Washington Post story.
Harris steps into role as voice for Asian Americans amid rise in hate incidents.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, have been mostly perpetuated by the left.
Yeah, it says Harris served as the junior United States Senator from California from 17 to 21. She defeated Loretta Sanchez in the 2016 to become the second African-American woman and the first South Asian American to serve in the United States. Are they saying India then is a part of Southern Asia?
It's on the Asian continent.
There you go.
I mean, it's right next to China. They share a border.
How many of us would have ever thought of that? I mean, India.
None, because the U.S. education system sucks.
Right. Yeah, but you're from Canada. You know. But you think of it as India is India. And you think curry. You don't think Asian. So for me, it's interesting that they're trying everything they can to latch a hold of her, any background that helps the party.
No, that's exactly what they're doing. And because she's not, well, they're trying to deflect from the criticism of her and how badly she's doing as vice president. That's what this is all about. They're trying to find something else so that the American people will take their minds off. And we're guilty of it. We're not talking about this. But the reality is she has been an absolute disaster and a bomb of a vice president.
Yes. Who
has been assigned the border and hasn't done anything about it. And now they're trying to find something to take the light off. Oh, she's the shining beacon for Indian Americans. No, she's not. She's been an absolute disaster for all Americans, as has this administration. But they need to take the focus off that, so they're doing this. It's typical leftist deflection, and that's all this is. So ignore it, because it's not even worth talking about. We've spent more time on this than we probably should have, because what's going to be highlighted at this town hall tonight in Inez at 6 o'clock at the Inez Community Center is the fact that she's been an utter, absolute failure in her role as vice president and in charge of the border. Bing. End of story.
Never came down here, hasn't made time to come down here, clearly doesn't think it's important, and absolutely doesn't care about Texas. This is going to backfire on the Dems as they try to turn this state blue. When the next Republican running for anything important in Texas says, here's the Democrats, we've got a border crisis. I think everybody agrees we have a border crisis. And the Democrats assigned the vice president of the United States to it, and she can't even make time to come down here. She's got a free ride.
No.
Very interesting, though, that I'm not defending Kamala Harris, but performance reflects leadership, and Joe Biden is such a huge bust as president that I'm not surprised that she's not basically called to stay in Washington just in case Joe completely breaks down. She seems, well, for a while she was seen in every photo with Joe. And now they've got a little distance between. Joe's always worried about getting in trouble for speaking.
I saw a video last night as I was doing a little show prep, and
thank you, John Davis.
I had forgotten to share it because it was pretty funny, but it was basically Tucker Carlson talking about Joe Biden falling up the stairs. Somebody had done some clever editing and thrown a dummy down, or CGI, maybe computer graphics, of a dummy falling downstairs out of a plane like it was Joe Biden.
Right.
It was clever.
Tucker's
and missed it, but I mean, it was all fake. There was nothing real about it, but it was a darn good laugh.
Yeah, she's never more than a room away. There may be some truth in that.
Greg Garcia says anyone who thinks she's doing a good job needs to be put down the Kool-Aid and stop living in the land of Oz. It's absolutely correct.
Yep. I don't know. There's people that are saying now, and it's a shame that we're going to waste a year and a half. People are talking about, well, we've got to retake the House in 22, and then we've got to throw them out in 24, and we're just kicking the can down the road 3 or 4 years, and it's just unfortunate. I'm not saying that we should throw them out now. I'm just saying it's unfortunate that we can't come to some type of agreement where they actually work together to get something done for the country. And I don't know what you do. I don't know, when you're trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in debt, what do you do?
Well, I think the Republicans' stance on not spending 2 trillion on infrastructure has softened Joe Biden. I saw this morning coming in that I think he's lowered his demand to 1.7 trillion. I believe the Republicans have said half a trillion. Right? 500 billion is what they want to spend on infrastructure as part of this COVID relief. As you look around this city, and we were critical of the plan to offer COVID relief, we've had one business that has signed up for Victoria's COVID relief, and that's it, right? We don't need more COVID relief. They're backing off the extra money for unemployment because the jobs numbers have been terrible, because they're paying people, even these socialists that are the Democrats, realize that politically it's a bomb, it's a hand grenade. It's not a football that will be tossed for a touchdown. It's a hand grenade that's going to blow up in their face, because the American small business owner, which still makes up the majority of the business owners in this country, despite big corporations being the evil ones to the Democrats, small business owners still make up the majority of all businesses in this country and all those who are employed and employed by.
Right.
They can't find employees because they're sitting home on their couches, and who is to blame them? If somebody's going to give you more money to sit around and do nothing, or the same money, than to sit around and go do something and be productive, 90% of people would probably take it, and that's the problem. So the Democrats are now having to scale back the unemployment. The extra money that was given out during COVID is no longer going to be there. So their living wage experiment has just blown up in their face, because Americans are still too industrious as a whole to sit around and do nothing and expect the government to provide for them.
But I listened to a deal the other day, Ash, where a guy detailed how that He didn't even say a married couple. He said a couple with a couple of kids. And he started working into, well, you can get this and with this credit and you get this and that and you can be on welfare and blah, blah. He basically had them to a true wage. Not that they would get this much money, but with the benefits they were getting, that this couple would split about $100,000 a year off of the federal government. And it's not sustainable. It won't work.
Well, what happens when everybody's no longer working?
Right.
Where do you generate a few $1 trillion in tax revenue that
you don't? That's why
right?
You've got to be a little bit of a conspiracy buff, willing to peel back one layer and say, is it possible that at the end of the day, your federal government is inching closer and closer to a one world government, and the only way to make that work is to make everybody relatively equal, and we've got it too good in the U.S. They've got to dumb us down, take away a lot of our ingenuity and initiative, and bring us down closer to these third world countries through rampant infiltration with immigration and a lowering of wage expectations,
lowering of the bar for college admission, for high school graduation, for promotion from one grade to the next.
There you go. So
because the U.S. is the big bad wolf, right? And everybody else is just Little Red Riding Hood.
Yep, that's exactly right. That's how they look at it. We're the ones that are, we're what do they call us? We're a empire building. We're the ones that are out there in their minds. We're out there trying to take over the world. Well, everybody wants to be here.
Yeah. How do the George Soroses, the Warren Buffetts, those who have made fortunes off the labor of others, and rightly so, they're the ones that risked everything to start their companies and what have you. And I'm not a George Soros fan, but he's made money, and I'm sure, some legitimate, some illegitimate, like many business owners that get to that rich and that powerful. Wall Street. Where is their money going to come from? Have they not thought long enough and far enough into the future on this, that if all of a sudden everybody's staying home and not working, who's going to provide the labor for them to continue to produce what they're doing? And how are they going to continue to live? Do they just expect to be the elite and the leaders?
They do.
But here's the thing, they're so soft when it comes to, they may be great businessmen and businesswomen. I don't see any of those folks being industrious enough to have to actually fight, whether physically or metaphorically, to maintain their position in such a socialist world where they would end up being the elite. They bring nothing to that table. They're not scary. Who would be afraid of Warren Buffett if you were staring at Warren Buffett and knowing that he has no control over you because you no longer work for him, and he's telling you something and you're standing in front of him? I mean, who's going to be afraid of that guy?
Well, you have to look at, I saw over the weekend, I saw a comparison of the ads recruiting military people between Russia and the United States. The Russian ad was, in a lot of ways, it was the stereotypical stuff that you and I would believe. They show a guy, he's chiseled. Have you seen this? He's chiseled and
Ivan Drago.
It looks like that. Puts on the uniform. They show him with the weapon. They show him chamber of weapon. He's laying in the snow, looking through a scope. Yeah. It's clearly an ad seeking a warrior, which, by the way, is the primary purpose of a military person. Then they had a partially animated video and this really high-pitched female voice. And she says, growing up, I had two moms. She goes through this deal about her two moms and how these two great role models taught her that she could do anything she put her mind to. And they blah, blah, blah. And I chose to serve my country. And then it goes to, and I'm so-and-so senior airman, blah, 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 Lisa, whatever. And I'm like going, oh, what a sweet story. We have to get the gays in there. We got to be pro-female. When the stuff hits the fan, I want Drago. I want the big bad dude with the gun. And 90% more than that of the women want the same thing. It's so romantic. I'm Lisa so-and-so, and my two moms really told me how to live, and I'm in the military. Yay. I feel so safe, Lisa. What is that? I don't get it. You're gearing up in this country for a war. We're at war. We're at war with China. We're at war with Russia. We're at war within ourselves, with the Democrats.
You want Drago, but I think Drago's an outdated vision as well. I mean, I think it's going to be a lot of technology.
You think
and
Lisa's
drones.
a drone pilot and a hacker?
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, when everything gets hacked and everybody gets droned, somebody going to get shot.
Yeah, there'll be
I'm a
some
little
of that, but
worried about
It's
that.
not going to be like the old days. And we're certainly not going back to trench warfare.
No 6-shooters. Good morning, Jim Simpson. Peter McNally says some of commentators' statements this AM are too far-fetched. Interesting. What? Be specific,
Yeah.
Pete. We love you. Be specific. Good
Lisa
morning,
Poole said
Keno.
She saw that too.
Yeah, it was
Sexton.
scary. Yeah, seeing Keno there is good. I'll tell you guys real quick, just because self-serving. Katie, of the older three.
Take our break and let's get into this.
Okay.
Because I wanted to ask you this, but we kind of got off topic.
Okay,
We're
well-
not off topic, but off track.
We did. Well, we got in it. We got worried. Look, Lisa Poole says BS, Peter Manel. Hey, Allen's Rigger Service, 578-6300. That's
Yeah. Driving around this weekend, saw a lot of Allen's trucks on the road because there's a lot of vehicles and ditches and on the sides of roads.
absolutely. And yesterday coming home, a little 2-horse trailer kind of drifted off of a culvert and was sitting there, and the guy was out there kind of scratching his head. And I thought about Allen and his crane. Go out there and just gently pick it up, put it back on the road. 578-6300, the VCS companies for all your communication needs. FirstNet, if you're a first responder, get by and get on the FirstNet network. It's a dedicated line for you guys to stay in touch with each other no matter the crisis. Also, whether you need an iPhone 12 or an iPad, chargers, all kinds of accessories, headphones, they've got it all at the AT&T store
Right there on
Kerr
Kerr Boulevard.
Yep. 101 years in downtown Victoria.
Right there at 116 West 1 Lynn.
All furniture. Go in. They also have bedding and Tempur-Pedic bedding and all types of washers and dryers and all of that stuff. Delivered today. Go by and tell them, please, say Bobby or send us. And then today you can get right back into Veracruz, place you need to be. You need to be in there and making that happen.
Enchiladas. Today would be a good Carnegie Saturday.
I'll tell you another thing, and I'm not going to say it too loud because I don't want them to get the hint, but I was out of town this weekend and ended up eating at another Mexican food restaurant that was not as good. Service was not as good. And everything across the board was about, honestly, $3.50, $4 higher per plate. Everything. Instead of enchiladas for $7.99, it was $12.45 kind of thing. You're like, come on. There you go. Veracruz is your place to be.
Peter McNally says we're going to do a third world country, for example.
Why, Peter?
In many ways, Peter,
Is
we're
it
heading
us
that
money?
way. Our education system is one of the worst in the developed world.
Amen.
We're 40th. The U.S. is 40th in education.
Yep.
That's at the bottom of the developed world, Peter.
We don't
we're not
manufacture
going up.
anything.
We're going down. We don't manufacture anything anymore.
Steel mills are all closed. We don't make anything. I don't think that I think we're systematically being driven towards. We won't ever be third world because, well, number one, we've got atomic weapons, but number two, we've got all types of industrious people. But in stereotype, our people are being led by their wallets to be dependent upon their government.
And those governments are typically autocratic. They do not allow for upward mobility. socially or economically.
And only
And
the
that's
elite
that,
have what they need.
and that is where we're heading, Peter.
No doubt.
We're heading to a socialist. The Biden administration wants socialism. It's plain and simple because, and Joe Biden probably doesn't even realize it, but the strings are being pulled by the AOCs of the world, the George Soroses, who want equity for all, except for them. They will be the ruling elite. Case in point, over the weekend, saw a story. AOC, she can park wherever she wants. She doesn't care about the parking laws in Washington, D.C. She was parking illegally. The rules don't apply to AOC the minute she got elected. She doesn't care. It's right. Everybody else, the working stiffs, the lower class, and then it's her and those that have been elected.
No doubt about it. I mean, and the thing is, and this is where of course, Peter's just our poster child. I don't understand how educated people can cling so heavily to their like anti-Trump stance that they end up just completely bamboozled by the left. Just makes no sense. I mean, if a guy like Pete McNally tells me, "Oh, the U.S. is fine. We're better off now without Donald Trump," that's just ignorance. You can just look around. Nobody thinks they're better off than they were when Donald Trump was in office.
Housing sales just sank.
Inflation's here.
4 something percent.
Yeah. So on an upper note, we go out.
You had a congratulations to you. You gained a son-in-law. You married off a daughter.
Fine young man.
How was the wedding?
Very, very.
Does he not serve this country?
He is. He was the commander of the E Company of the Corps of Cadets at A&M, which for those of you that are Aggies, I mean, it's a big deal. Now he's a second lieutenant in the United States Army, right. But he's in physical therapy school in South Carolina, and Katie works for a large but a regional accounting, not a big four. She works for an accounting firm, and they live in Charleston. And it didn't go off without a hitch. It rained hard Friday night, and it rained hard on Saturday.
Well, you know what they say though. I mean, unlike Alanis Morissette, right? Rain on your wedding day isn't ironic. It's actually supposed to be good luck.
It's supposed to be. It wasn't. There was a lot of moving parts, but Dawn and I and Katie's mom and John, we pulled it off. We pulled it off. It turned out really nice. Mike Posey came over and catered. Dinner was fantastic. The wedding was going to be outside. There's a gentleman here in town, super nice gentleman, Randy Myatt, works for Frost. And he has the Myatt family winery. And it's out there on County Road 957. You're just kind of going outside, kind of north out of Hallettsville. And we actually had it inside the winery and had dinner there Friday night and then had the wedding there Saturday. Very nice. Got them married there in Hawaii, and off we go. The adventure for them begins. But it was a good time. Everybody was together. Lots of folks from the Valley and Houston. It was a nice event. So
nice. Yeah. Congratulations to Katie and Stephen, and I wish them well in their.
Peter McNally says, read Bill Gates' new book. Well, right there, you lost me. Read Bill Gates' new book. Okay. How to avoid a climate disaster. He speaks of many solutions.
I'd have to read the book. I don't know.
There is no climate disaster. There is no climate disaster.
And Bill Gates is not a climate expert.
Right. It's all just made up. We've dealt with aerosol cans. We've dealt with animal flatulence. I mean, it's all
styrofoam, CFCs
up. We had to go, well, paper bags were messing up the landfill. So we'll go to biodegradable plastic bags. Oh, they don't work. We're going back to paper bags.
Canada has now declared plastic toxic.
Austin Hicks
ban all toxic.
How about that sweep on the Astros? Why would we talk about that? The Rangers, this Garcia guy is on fire for the Rangers, and they just swept the Astros over the weekend.
What, a week after we did?
Yeah, after we swept them.
So, tit for tat.
Big week coming up. Astros play the Padres in interleague play late in the week and then play the Red Sox on Monday. Yeah, I don't know why Bill Gates. I mean, Bill Gates needs to stay home and take care of his family. And
You can't even do that, apparently.
Yeah, nobody really cares about Bill Gates' book.
Bill Gates thought he was great, and he's lost a lot of
credibility.
Even those who may not be hardcore Democrats, somewhere down the middle. I've got a few friends that work for Microsoft and Bill Gates. They hate the man. These are guys that I know well. They don't hate anybody, but they hate Bill Gates. That tells me all I need to know about Bill Gates and possibly his motives for anything.
Yeah, I think his kind of boyish, not good looks, but just kind of boyish demeanor. Like, oh, shucks, y'all. You know, I just do a little software. That guy's trying to manipulate the world. Yeah. You know, power corrupts, right? And I think he's doing everything he can to manipulate. You know, you give me $100 billion, I'd just be gone. I might mail you $1 million a week or something, just make you smile, but I'd be gone.
He was good at software.
Yeah, that's what he ought to do.
But he thinks he's an expert in everything else but these days.
Absolutely.
Except for relationships and how to promote women at work without getting them on their backs, apparently.
Right? Come on, Bill. We got anything big coming out? We got to talk about Texas Coast Limo a little bit. Buddy Bob Constantine would love to take you and your family. Wedding season is upon us. You need to reach out to Texas Coast Limo.
Absolutely.
575 Limo. And let Bob and his crew shuttle you around. I saw some wedding pictures, excuse me, of a young woman who used the new trolley. Have you seen those?
The wedding trolley?
Yeah, it's just gorgeous. I really, really recommend that you do that. Peter McNabb says, okay, talk about your solutions without Trump. Speak to change and progress. Well, I think there's a number of people. I think Governor DeSantis in Florida is a fine guy. Jim Jordan out of Ohio is a fine gentleman. I mean, compare and contrast that to the nipple-wearing Cuomo, who, well, that kind of died, didn't it? Got quiet.
Yeah, it's really gotten quiet because the media stopped covering it. You wonder why.
There absolutely are no leaders on the left. Let's see that really sharp woman from South Dakota. Is she Republican or Democrat?
Kristi Noem?
Oh, she's a Republican. Diversity.
The left got real quiet when, there's not much. I mean, their anti-Semitism came out in the last week. They have no solution for the border. So all they can do, as we talked about, was try to point, and even they're starting to eat their own. They don't like Justin Bieber anymore. They're now going after Kamala Harris, who was because she's not Indian enough, hasn't embraced her Asian Indian roots enough.
Southern Asian.
Yeah. This is what they're doing within the Democrat Party, folks.
Who's trying to get in?
Should I go see?
I don't know. Do we want them in?
Yeah, maybe.
Probably the sheriff. But you know, you look at it and you try to figure out where the leadership is. There really are. There's nobody leading. There's nobody exciting on the Democratic side of things. There's not, and that's a good time to tell you. Dan Bongino, conservative pundit, longtime podcast guy.
He started as a podcaster.
Radio guy. He started as a Secret Service agent. He's got the credentials to do what he does. Starts today, Monday, apparently with President Trump as one of his initial guests in the time slot formerly held by Rush Limbaugh. So very excited for him. I mean, I'm excited to see what Bongino can do. 3 hours of live radio every day. It's a full-time gig. And Rush averaged about 15 million listeners a day. So
I like Bongino. I like his podcast. I like what he does. It'll be interesting to see how his show, or if he changes.
He's a little more aggressive, a little more vigilant. He's a soundbite guy. You know, he's an early guy. I did have a really nice video over the weekend from Alan West. and Lieutenant Colonel West was pointing out, it was on May the 18th or 19th, that there was a pro-Israel rally in Dallas. And he said, but look across the street. And there was a pro-Hamas rally in Dallas. And Colonel West pointed out, don't feel like the enemies are at the gates. Folks, the enemies are inside the gates. Hamas is nothing more
They're a terrorist organization.
A terrorist organization by definition. This is not like an arm of the Palestinian government. Oh, wait, there is no Palestinian government. So these people are purely terrorists, and they're straight up anti-Semitism on display in Dallas. That garbage didn't happen under Donald Trump. The reason is folks in the Middle East
know
peace through strength. They respect strength. Why? They've been fighting for centuries. They knew that the United States stood with Israel and it kept all that trash under control. Under the weakling known as Joe Biden, we all face increased danger from terrorist activity. No other way to look at it.
And absolutely no trust in the media to report on anything. Case in point, a report out of France today. France, probably one of the harder hit countries by COVID in Europe. And this will probably start a little fuel to the, what some said was a conspiracy theory that the Wuhan virus started in a laboratory in the Wuhan province, right?
Haven't we thought that for 2 years?
Didn't come from some dude eating a bat. That's been proven. It probably did jump from the laboratory somehow. Well, it turns out a report out of France today that some researchers from that Wuhan Institute of Virology sought hospital care in November of 19 for problems. China's not calling it COVID, but they all had COVID-like symptoms. And we've even talked about that. We brought that up when all the spy satellite imagery was showing a lot of activity at hospitals in China, in the Wuhan province, back in like end of August, early September of 2019, indicating that something was up a whole lot earlier than China ever let on and the World Health Organization ever let on. Now you've got a report out of France saying that these 3 individuals who worked in that laboratory that's thought to be where patient 0 came from for the coronavirus had coronavirus-like symptoms in November of 19, a whole lot earlier than they said anybody ever had symptoms. They're saying, December.
It is of interest that for sure there's memos from 2015 where the viability of this type of virus as a weapon was discussed in China. We know that, and the U.S. is not clean on this. The U.S. Studies viruses. The U.S. has,
biological warfare.
All that stuff is stored, but the U.S. was precluded from doing this legally in the country, and they funded Fauci and a lab doing the exact same work overseas. So Fauci was intimately knowledgeable about Wuhan for sure. Like, doesn't deny it. It's like, yeah, but I didn't have anything to do with letting it out.
National Institutes of Health funded.
Yeah,
some research.
2.3 million, which guess who's involved in that? Bill Gates.
And now we're finding out that lab probably not built to spec.
It's built in China
for the level of
it's exactly like Chernobyl. Okay, Chernobyl comes along, they didn't do it right, and everybody gets blamed, and all of a sudden nuclear energy. Well, we have another Chernobyl. Okay, that's what'll happen. The Adson-Offer dealership since 1926, Victoria's dealership. Get by today. Go to AdsonOffer.com. Chevy, Cadillac, Mazda, Mitsubishi.
I got a nice Mazda CX-5. That's my used car.
Is it pretty? What color is it?
Kind of like a dark bluish gray. It's nice.
Very nice. You just trust you?
Trust me.
How much?
Under 20.
There you go. Get by for under 20 grand. Get a new set of wheels. White Trash Services, 550-1826. Driving back in from Hallettsville the other day, so a huge billboard Said something like helping you have a trashy day or something. It was just great.
Trash-tastic.
Well, I didn't say trash-tastic.
Okay.
It was great. Big old sign with the
Big white truck.
Yeah, it's
red
beautiful.
white truck. White Trash Services can help you with all your trash collection needs.
550-1826. 7 counties: Holiday Beach, Rockport.
I don't think they can
Lake
pump up
Tahoe.
all this water, though.
No. Razor IT Solutions, JP Hill and his team are swamped. No pun intended. He told me they've been super busy and have a lot going on. So excited to report that their association with Wade and Carter has benefited them. Reach out to Razor IT Solutions. The law offices of Steve Kidder. Contracts, wills, trusts, marriages, divorces, adoptions, something positive. Steve Kidder can help you with all of that. Navigation, that's what he does. He helps you navigate the court system and maybe even stay out of the court system.
There you go.
That's the best place. Nothing, anytime you get your best chances in front of a jury of your peers, but anytime you do, anything can happen. Work with Steve Kidder. And then Complete 360 in the Health Bar. Health Bar is right here on Red River between Laurent and Ben Jordan. And Complete 360 is up north right next to Buffalo Wild Wings. You've got supplements, paninis, wraps, all types of
Snacks.
smoothies. Yes, yeah,
Healthy snacks.
and the supplements. Big deal. Get up
They
there
have
and
like these
check it
big
out.
plastic tubs of they look like cheese balls. My daughter just snacks them all the time.
There's Clint Ives checks in. Good morning,
Morning,
Commissioner. I'm pretty sure that he'll end up in Inez tonight. Let's get our friend in here.
Yeah. So we finish up our final break, and then we'll
Then we can have uninterrupted time with him. Sure.
Modern Mortgage. Give Terry Murray a call. She is your mortgage expert. From refinancing to buying a home, Terry can help you navigate the mortgage waters that are rising.
541-5454. Wind services for generators. Storm season is upon us. There's
It's
a
here.
hurricane in the Atlantic as we speak.
Anna. Or Anna.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the pronunciation.
If she's Russian, she would be
Anya.
right there. You have it. Wind services of generators, solar panels, general plumbing work, emergency plumbing work, general wiring.
If it needs to be installed by a certified professional,
they can do it.
Wind can do it.
USA Concrete Coatings for all your garage floor, porch, patio, pool deck. You need to resurface something. You want it to be non-slip, antimicrobial, antibacterial, polyurethane, and tougher than any type of epoxy.
4 times strong.
And with a lot more options on colors and patterns. Reach out, 578-HOME. And then, of course, the Gray Barn, 920-6803. Reach out to Cheryl for your next party and make it memorable. Go to a party you want to go to instead of a party that you had to do all the work for. I've done both. Cheryl does a great job. Reach out to her.
920-6803.
There you go. Gray One, do you have time to visit with us?
I believe he does.
I don't know exactly where he's at.
I think he's on a phone call just around the corner.
I think
So
we're probably talking to Dan Bongino. They're friends.
right, yeah.
Could be talking to Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity. He calls Hannity like he's a Yankee. He's from New Jersey.
Trying to get out of there.
He is, isn't he?
Yeah, he's trying to get out of New York City. But tonight at the Inez Community Center, 6:00 this evening, a town hall with the Texas Regional Sheriff's Alliance and Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. We'll talk border crisis. We'll talk immigration crisis. I'm hopeful the Attorney General will have some solutions. People are fearful. People are now asking on social media, hey, I'm heading here for something. Is it safe to do so? As they head towards the border in West Texas and South Texas, the Rio Grande.
Let's ask the sheriff. Let's get him in here and talk to him.
I mean, people are scared to go to parts of Texas.
You want to do the video honors?
Yes, I will.
You do that. Good morning, sir. How are you?
How are y'all?
We're good. We try to drag you close to that microphone. How are they? We don't have that high-tech studio. We've been seeing you on Tucker Carlson. What do you think about Dan Bongino taking over Russia's slot?
Solid guy.
I think that, up until just like now, they've had these, they call them like guest tour guides, and they spend a lot of time reflecting on Rush's remarks and setting up clips of Rush. I don't think Bongino will do that. I think he's going to say, hey, given it several months. We've transitioned. He's a more vocal, if that's even possible, more vocal version of Rush. I mean, I think he's very much like, we got to do something now. Rush doesn't talk in terms of we. He says, here's what's going on.
He's
So,
a lot more direct.
yes, sir.
He's got good information. Well respected.
Tell us about tonight. Tell us anything you'd like to, sir, but about tonight would be great.
General Paxton in town. It's I think we were talking earlier about the.
Swing that mic around for me, Sheriff. Got to get right into the front of it. There we go.
Yes, General.
Oh, there you go.
There it is.
Yeah, General Paxton in town tonight as a sitting Attorney General of Texas. One of our state leaders who has done. I think he's filed 5 lawsuits against the Biden administration on different policies that are affecting the border situation that's affecting us. So, I think as a sitting AG here in Texas, tell me when's the last time an AG agreed to come and address local citizens in this manner?
Right. I can't recall ever meeting one.
No,
And that's a small venue. I mean, you're going to be able to go and visit and listen directly to Ken Paxton, which is powerful stuff.
He has agreed to what brought this on is a lot of different opinions on what we should be doing. And I simply thought that probably let's hear from the legal arm of the state and come up with some good policies and best practices for our citizens that are in some unique situations they're not used to dealing with. And, so this is a chance for the public to come and listen, give some questions. He's probably going to be there for at least an hour and a half or so. And so it should be a good time. Got a couple of his assistants, of his top assistants.
Everybody in this area, good guys and bad guys as well, they all know of the cooperative effort that you guys have spearheaded with the Sheriff's Alliance and how that you're all working together, you and Mr. Pinky and Justin and on, Roy Boyd, the whole crew of you, Mr. Bowen. I don't want to miss anybody, but there's about 14,
Well, you
right?
probably will,
18 folks. So these gentlemen kind of walked together and have created a regional alliance. Have you had anybody from the Biden administration in any form reach out to any of you about how can we help? How do we get to the border? Kamala Harris wants to come down. Would you give her a tour? Has any of that happened?
Have serious questions here.
I am stunned that we've got 18 regional sheriffs representing hundreds of thousands of legal constituents.
Let's clear that up. This is all done by design and purpose. They intend to do this. This is exactly what they said they were going to do. We're going to become a more welcoming country. We have a zero border now. And so even I heard this last week, early in the weekend, where our Department of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, our director, our secretary, said our border was secure. While we have chase after chase and destruction up here of our property. So it's, they intend to do that. I expect nothing from the Biden administration other than what we're getting right now.
So what do? We have different people who, they're so still anti-Trump that they can't get their head around that this is a serious, maybe even life-threatening for some of us, border crisis. Not like, oh, this is a bad month. This is now, as you say, by design, let them come. How do we get our leftist friends? Because I know some folks that are Democrats, and they're not for an open border. They're not, but the media doesn't reach out and tell anybody the truth.
When you've ticked off Henry Cuellar, you've done something.
Yeah, hard to do, right?
But, and I've got a lot of good Democrat friends. I think we all do. And but that's not who's running the country.
No.
Yes, sir.
So we're not sure who's running the country right now, but we're sure where the policy is coming from.
John Davis asks, AJ, any rumblings of more funds from the state for our local sheriffs dealing with this invasion?
Thanks for the question, John. The governor under Operation Lone Star set aside $729 million to 9 state agencies. The majority of that going to the Department of Public Safety. But there's 8 other agencies, state agencies that are receiving dollars. But as of yet, there are no local dollars for local law enforcement or sheriffs across the state.
Bobcat Wiley says, nice, good interview on Tucker Carlson the other day. Steve Kidder points out no other media outlet is showing any of the footage of a guy in La Jolla had 15 get out and one sheriff's deputy trying to chase down 15 people. It's just absurd.
There was a story last week that I saw. Kat Kamick, representative from Florida, came and visited the border in Texas. It shows you she's a Republican. She met with a young girl who Border Patrol said that they came across cartel members raping this girl in the desert, 9 years old. She was screaming out. That's how they found her. The cartel had used this girl repeatedly to be the, quote, daughter of the migrants they were bringing across. Who knows how many, quote, parents this girl had to help illegals get across. And the cartel was having their way with her. And this was just one. She spoke to this girl. There were many others that had the exact same story of how the cartel used and abused these young girls. It's absolutely sickening, and the Biden administration is doing nothing but encouraging it. They're aiding and abetting cartel members. Their behavior and lack of action is illegal and it's certainly immoral, but it's very illegal in my opinion.
So yes,
See?
we have this that's going on. These horrors, these tragedies from government policies have been going on for some time. I think a better question here, again, by design here, but I want to know where all of the groups and advocacy groups that are always here in the United States, the ones who attacked Kavanaugh during the Supreme Court interviews, where are these groups? Where are our ecological groups on the destruction of the border, of that ecosystem? Where's the Sierra Club? Where are these groups that are constantly out here taking everyone to task, except a border policy that's happened here? The horrors and tragedies going on with that are every day been occurring. This isn't the first time around. I've been in this particular lane heavily since 2014 and before that.
We have spoken about it on this show almost since our beginnings.
Nothing's changed. It's just worse now.
Yeah.
It's just worse now. It's they took the priority enforcement program and increased every aspect of that program, and that's what we have today. And
you guys are handcuffed, pardon the pun. You catch somebody, you turn them over to Border Patrol. They have to release them under the policies of the Biden administration. How many repeat offenders have your men come across?
Ash, I don't know. I don't have a number for you. Is it frustrating? Sure. We got to mentally harden up, keep our head up, and keep going, and get through this time period. We got to get to this next election. It looks like I don't expect any change from the Biden administration, but at least we can grow local concern here and swell the numbers of people who understand and are fully informed about what destructive policies from the federal government can do to your area. And this is really the true message what we're trying to do here.
And Bob Wiley points out, he says, now the Biden administration is putting these folks on buses and planes and scattering them all over the country. As law enforcement, what do you see? I know there's obvious ramifications. You're taking people with no money and put them in places where they're going to have to steal. And are they being funded?
Your NGOs are taking care of that, who are in fact funded by the government. So your non-governmental organizations play a huge role in this whole particular plan, the strategic plan that was mapped out by the members of the Biden administration.
It's funny. These same critics always complain about the money in the prison system and the big business private prisons have become. These non-governmental agencies are making huge dollars off our taxpayers by allowing this to continue, because then their executives make $250,000 leading these quote nonprofits that are helping these folks.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We have BLM in solidarity with Hamas. I mean, when you see these kind of things here from the policies and what's going on here in the United States, I mean, it's what a clown show.
To me, it's the dumbest thing ever. You would think that if all they shared in common was centuries of oppression, you would think the blacks would, and I think they do. That's the problem. That is the point. I think that Black America would be more empathetic and aligned with Israel because they've both been enslaved. They've both been in stereotype. They've both been oppressed. BLM is just anarchist. I mean, they're just trying to get us to this socialist, communist state so that, I mean, Hamas is nothing more than a terrorist organization. And so apparently by association, so is BLM to me.
Well, the leaders of BLM now facing a lot of charges of potential money issues. Where's the money gone that people donated to BLM? I mean, they're living the lives of dictators. Everybody else.
The BLM and Antifa, those are both essentially just the military wing of the DNC.
They're just ideas, AJ. That's what the DNC will tell you. They're just Antifa's just an idea. Yeah.
From what they destroy.
Yeah. So tonight, Town Hall, Inez Community Center, 6:00. You can actually submit questions to outreach@oag.texas.gov if you have a question for Attorney General Ken Paxton. Obviously, this is dealing with the border crisis. Can we expect some solutions to be presented tonight, or at least ideas to move forward?
He's going to lay out several best practices for our constituents and people here in our area that would be well worth listening to. General Paxton is a quality person that's been in this game for quite some time. And so just the mere fact that he will come here in person and address the core element of society here, in my opinion, local citizens. And that's that's a lot to be said for that.
For whatever it's worth, we've been telling people that Sheriff Louderback called him and told him to come here.
Get down here now.
And he said, "Yes, sir. Send a horse for you."
Very receptive. I'll tell you that.
That's good. Well, we appreciate all you do, and we appreciate somebody who's informed, who's willing to tell us the truth. You know, we brag about getting our information straight from the source. There is no better source than you and your deputies that are boots on the ground.
You live it every day, and that's, I mean, it's an everyday occurrence now.
Yes, it is. And I wish it was going to change. And I wish there was something that we could tell folks. Well, we can tell people today, here with General Paxton, we can tell them under these unique situations with foreigners on their property, a lot of issues with firearms. We can give them best practices from one source of consistent information. And that's the goal here. Is to give everyone a guiding light on how to handle some situations that are affecting a lot of rural landowners and folks who don't have close neighbors. We don't have, right now, we have not had the chases through the cities. But now for the south, they have.
Yeah.
And so can I look forward to something like that? I hope not. But certainly on the highways around us, we're engaged.
Well, when you have that moment where there's a indiscriminate discharge of weapons by cartel people driving through the middle of downtown Victoria, chasing somebody or running from somebody, if it takes that to get people's attention, that's a dangerous position to be in. We need to open our eyes now.
And here's the scary part, because our media is in bed with the Democrats on this. This weekend and towards the end of the week, it finally came to light. There was a young girl going to high school, driving herself to high school, had to pull a gun on a bunch of illegals who tried to carjack her as she was going to high school. The media ignored this story. This is how dangerous it's become. You can't even go to school anymore without becoming a victim of the potential violence of these just peaceful illegal immigrants coming to town. They tried to carjack her. She's a minor. She had a gun. It's going through the courts. I mean, it's going to play out. I'm sure she'll be fine. But 17-year-old girl had to pull a gun. She is completely traumatized by this. Would have been traumatized by being carjacked.
Well, these stories are going to grow.
Absolutely.
Teaching people how to handle them is really about all we have right now.
Right. You sold us. We've done it. You teaching a class anytime soon?
Probably in June.
Okay, folks, we'll keep you posted on that. But if you have a chance to take Sheriff Louderback's LTC class, you really owe it to yourself. I remember visiting with Ash and basically kind of saying, "Hey, look, let's do this and let's really support this." And Ash was like, "I don't know if I'd ever want to carry a weapon." And I said, "No," but he got a lot of safety training, practical training, and legal common sense now.
Yeah.
At the time, it all seemed brand new, but it all makes perfect sense now. If you have a chance to study with Sheriff Louderback, it's a great day. It was actually fun, and very informative. Bob Wally asked again, Sheriff, do you know if the illegals are given new identification when they are being processed?
I've heard that the NGOs are providing some type, but it's not what we would call a government ID. There's some type of identification, but we can't find out anything from the NGOs. They are not cooperating with any law enforcement agency. We don't know where people are going. We don't have any accountability on the tens of thousands that have come into the country, on where they're located, where they are. I've asked these questions. I asked Secretary Mayorkas directly in a meeting in El Paso here 5 weeks ago, which I was one of 12 sheriffs invited up there to have a discussion with him, a roundtable with him. There was 12 of us and Secretary Mayorkas, our Department of Homeland Security director, who you got to kind of get that.
Like
Homeland Security.
Buck stops with him.
Absolutely. So,
But it doesn't.
Right.
I think it's a shell game. The Biden administration is telling him what to do, and I don't know, just another political person put in place there that not showing me the kind of honor I'd like to see, and say, no, I can't do that. I'm in charge of Homeland Security here.
BJ Nelson says, "What's an NGO? Can you give her an example
That's a non-governmental organization. There's the NGOs are one of the key factors in this entire process that the Biden administration planned and strategized out. So this consists of probably the largest in our state is Catholic Charities. And so they feel they've got a number of over a dozen large buses. They have a huge area there in McAllen that has been operating successfully for some time on transporting migrants as they come into the United States.
Right.
And so there are others.
Alton Johnston points out something we have talked about on this show is that these are not all Hispanics. These are not all Mexicans. They're coming from all nationalities, and many of which are not friendly to us openly.
I believe, yeah, it's 167 now. The last I heard was 160. So, yeah, I mean, you're
from India, from Asia. There are people that are coming in from all over the world through that border because it's just open.
A couple of weeks ago, a dozen Yemeni terrorists, guys are on the terrorist watch list, were apprehended. That means there's probably a whole bunch more that didn't get apprehended. Absolutely. Yeah.
They're now working at a curry restaurant in San Antonio.
That we're giving them money. We're going to give Iran more money.
Quite likely.
So BJ Nelson asked the question that we'll both just go, there you go. She says, why are we paying charities to process illegals? See, they feel led, compelled, humanitarian. They're empathetic. Well, we just can't let those people starve. We're going to give them food and shelter and a blanket because we care. And the government counts on that, lets them use their tax exempt status. People funnel money into there, and then they funnel money onto these people, give them a new set of clothes, new pair of sneakers, and $100 and say, go to Dallas and get a job. That's what happens. All in the name of love, unity, and getting along.
Well said.
Thank you, sir. I listen closely to you. I've learned a lot. I actually watch Tucker Carlson when I know you're going to be on there. And Ash, tell the sheriff the truth. We don't really take credit for his success.
We don't.
But we knew him back when.
Back when.
That's right.
But looking forward to tonight, 6 o'clock on Nez Community Center Town Hall Q&A with Attorney General Ken Paxton and the Texas Sheriff's Regional Alliance.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Fantastic.
Thanks,
Hey,
Eddie.
thank you for
Appreciate
your
it.
time, sir.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you.
We're going to get out of here and turn this over.